A 15-year-old boy walks calmly into the police station. He's smiling. What he's about to confess will make seasoned detectives sick to their stomachs. Years later, this same boy, now a man, terrifies hardened prison guards. Why? Because this killer didn't stop at murder. He enjoyed it. But his case is only the beginning. Because in this video, we're going to uncover 3 young killers who now terrify even the toughest guards. Their stories begin now. Case 1. Nehemiah Griego. In the arid expanse of Albuquerque, New Mexico, January 2013 marked a turning point. Here lived Nehemiah Griego, a 15-year-old son of Pastor Greg Griego. Nehemiah grew up in a strict Christian household. He mastered the guitar, drums, and bass, his talents shining during church services. His parents, Greg and his wife, raised him alongside siblings aged 9, 5, and 2. But beneath Nehemiah's outward charm and musical prowess simmered a growing rage, hidden from even those closest to him, waiting for a moment to erupt. On January 19, 2013, at approximately 6:30 a.m., Nehemiah Griego armed himself with a .22 caliber rifle and an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, both legally owned by his father, Greg Griego. He entered the living room of his family's South Valley home and fired the first shot at his mother, Sarah Griego, striking her in the chest. Her body collapsed instantly, falling onto the carpet in a pool of blood that spread 12 feet across the room. When his 9-year-old brother, Zephaniah, distraught and crying, emerged from his bedroom to investigate the noise, Nehemiah shot him twice in the torso, the boy's small frame crumpling to the floor, his blood mixing with his mother's. Next, Nehemiah methodically hunted down his younger siblings, his 5-year-old sister, Jael, and 2-year-old brother, Gabriel. Their screams pierced the silence as he fired, the bullets striking them in vital areas, head and chest, silencing them forever. Their tiny bodies were left in pools of red, sprawled across the hallway and bedroom floors, the scene marked by 15 bullet casings scattered throughout. Hours later, at around 2 p.m., as his father, Greg, a pastor and former military serviceman, returned from his job at a rescue mission, Nehemiah lay in wait behind the front door. He shot Greg at close range with the AR-15, the bullet entering his chest, leaving 4 family members dead. The crime scene was a nightmare. Walls splattered with blood, furniture overturned, and the stench of gunpowder mingling with the coppery scent of death, documented by police as one of the most gruesome domestic massacres in New Mexico history. Later that day, Nehemiah loaded his van with additional firearms, including 2 more rifles and several boxes of ammunition, his mind set on a mass shooting at a crowded Walmart on Coors Boulevard. But at approximately 5 p.m., fate intervened. He drove instead to Calvary Chapel, where he approached Security Chief Vince Harrison, confessed his atrocities in a steady voice, his eyes vacant and unblinking, and surrendered without resistance. Arrested moments after his confession on January 19, 2013, Nehemiah faced initial juvenile charges under New Mexico law, which typically cap sentences at age 21 for minors. However, his chilling lack of remorse during interrogation, describing the murders in a monotone, detailing reloads and body positions without emotion, sent shockwaves through investigators, prosecutors, and psychologists alike. In custody at the Bernalillo County Juvenile Detention Center, he remained detached, his cold demeanor a stark contrast to the warmth and faith of his former life. Unsettling guards and staff who noted his eerie silence and occasional unsettling stares. His history of premeditated mass violence, including his plan for a public massacre and his unemotional recounting of killing his family, created a palpable fear among prison staff. They monitored him 24/7, knowing his potential for sudden, explosive rage, with security protocols heightened due to his access to weapons and his demonstrated capacity for planning. In 2019, after 6 years of legal battles, Judge Elisa Hart, citing Nehemiah's lack of amenability to treatment and his ongoing risk, ruled him unfit for rehabilitation under the Juvenile Justice Act. She sentenced him, as an adult, to 2 counts of second-degree murder and 3 counts of child abuse, resulting in death, with a potential sentence of up to 120 years in prison, ensuring his long-term incarceration as a precaution against a mind that might strike again. Guards at the Lee County Correctional Facility, where he was transferred in 2020, kept him in solitary confinement for extended periods, their unease growing with each silent stare, fearing he might replicate his past horrors. His file notes 12 documented instances of verbal threats and property damage in custody, but his reputation as a potential mass killer kept security on high alert. His capacity for horror, a constant reminder etched in their training manuals and nightly briefings. What dark forces drove a teen to such depths, and can science ever fully explain it? Psychologists who evaluated Nehemiah diagnosed him with severe depression and possible conduct disorder, conditions that warped his perception of reality. He admitted to an obsession with violent video games, claiming they fueled his fantasies of destruction and control. His lack of empathy was profound, evident in his premeditated planning and the cold execution of his family, as if they were mere obstacles. Experts noted his strict church upbringing and rigid discipline might have suppressed his anger until it boiled over in a catastrophic release. He showed no regret, not even flinching when confronted with the horror of his actions. In fact, he texted a photo of his mother's lifeless body to his 12-year-old girlfriend, a chilling act of detachment that stunned investigators. As of April 2025, Nehemiah Griego resides at Lee County Correctional Facility in New Mexico, serving out his sentence in a world of concrete and steel. Guards describe him as eerily quiet, his presence a constant source of tension, his past crimes casting a long shadow of fear over the prison. They move cautiously around him, their training tested by the memory of his brutality. His case left Albuquerque scarred, a community grappling with how such darkness could hide behind a facade of faith and talent. The question remains, who failed Nehemiah? His family, bound by their strict beliefs, society, blind to his rage, or himself, lost to his own demons? What do you think? Comment below and share your insight. Case 2. Willie Bosket. In the gritty streets of Harlem, New York City, in 1978, a 15-year-old named Willie Bosket emerged from a crucible of violence and despair. His father, a convicted murderer, left a legacy of brutality, while his mother, overwhelmed by poverty and instability, struggled to control a boy already spiraling. By age 9, Willie's aggression landed him in institutions, where he first displayed his volatile nature. Expelled from school for his escalating behavior, he was diagnosed with depression, but no intervention could curb his descent. Before his most infamous acts, he amassed over 2,000 crimes, 200 armed robberies, 25 stabbings, and countless assaults, a record that marked him as a prodigy of destruction in a city already hardened by crime. In March and April of 1978, the rumbling, graffiti-covered tunnels of New York's subway system transformed into Willie Bosket's killing grounds, a stage for violence amid the city's daily chaos. On March 19, 1978, during a robbery on a southbound No. 3 train near the 96th Street station in Manhattan, Willie, then 15, drew a .38 caliber revolver and shot his first victim, 26-year-old Noel Perez, in the chest at point-blank range. Perez collapsed instantly, blood pooling on the grimy floor as panicked passengers screamed and fled. The bullets severed major arteries, and Perez died within minutes, his body left sprawled across the train car, surrounded by 12 witnesses who later provided descriptions to police. Weeks later, on April 7, 1978, Willie struck again on a northbound number. One train near the 125th Street station. This time, he targeted 53-year-old Moises Perez during a failed robbery attempt. As Perez attempted to flee, Willie fired a single, .208 caliber shot into his back, the bullet tearing through flesh and bone, exiting through his abdomen and leaving him dead on the platform, his body discovered by arriving passengers. Arrested swiftly by NYPD officers on April 9, 1978. After a tip from a witness who recognized him from news reports, Willie later boasted during interrogation, "I did it for the experience." His voice devoid of remorse, his eyes gleaming with a chilling detachment that unnerved detectives. His speed, precision, and lack of hesitation, completing each attack in under 30 seconds, shocked the NYPD's Homicide Division, who realized they faced not just a juvenile delinquent, but a predator shaped by a lifetime of rage, honed in Harlem's toughest streets. But his reign of terror was far from over. Prison would become the next arena for his war. Sentenced on June 15, 1978, to just 5 years in a juvenile facility under New York's then lenient laws, Willie Bosket's fury found new targets behind the bars of the Tryon School for Boys in upstate New York. His aggression erupted almost immediately. Between 1978 and 1980, he set fire to his cell 7 times, each blaze ignited with bedding or paper, requiring fire suppression teams and causing $15,000 in damages, a defiant scream against confinement. He attacked guards 9 times using fists, sharpened toothbrushes, and metal shards, leaving bruises, lacerations, and psychological trauma in his wake. 3 guards required medical leave, one suffering a broken arm, to provoke responses and gain attention. He swallowed objects like a spoon handle, a nail, and a plastic comb, forcing emergency medical interventions and further isolating himself in punitive segregation. From 1985, after transfer to adult facilities like Attica and Sing Sing, to 1994, he racked up nearly 250 disciplinary violations. Documented acts included spitting on staff, throwing food trays with scalding contents, and inciting riots that injured 12 other inmates. On February 14, 1988, his violence peaked when he stabbed a correction officer, John Reynolds, in the abdomen with a homemade shank during a routine cell check at Sing Sing, the blade sinking 3 inches deep, an act that required emergency surgery and left Reynolds with permanent nerve damage. This incident cemented his reputation as New York's most feared inmate, a status that persisted even as he was moved to Wender Correctional Facility in 1994. His original sentence ballooned to 82 years to life following multiple convictions for assault, arson, and weapons charges. A judicial acknowledgement on March 22, 1989, that no amount of time could tame his rage. Guards, trained for maximum security threats, still approached him with dread, their training manuals citing his name as a case study in untreatable aggression. His presence, a whisper of terror in the prison corridors, where even seasoned officers admitted to feeling a primal fear at the sight of his cold stare. What kind of mind could sustain such relentless chaos, and what lies beneath his unyielding surface? Psychologists who studied Willie labeled him highly intelligent yet sociopathic, a mind devoid of empathy or remorse. His early life, marred by trauma, neglect, and constant exposure to violence, forged a predator who craved control and chaos. He saw himself as a monster, a creation of a failed system, and took pride in the fear he inspired. His behavior revealed a deep-seated need for power, masked by a deceptive charm that disarmed those around him until it was too late. He thrived on the reactions his actions provoked, viewing each act of violence as a test of his dominance. His lack of guilt, even decades later, underscored a personality shaped not just by circumstance, but by a deliberate choice to embrace destruction. As of April 2025, Willie Bosket resides at Wendy Correctional Facility in New York, confined to a 9-by-6-foot cell for 23 hours each day. Guards avoid all interaction, their silence a shield against his lingering menace. His only audible presence is the mechanical flush of his toilet, a stark reminder of his isolation. His 82-year-to-life sentence ensures he will die in prison. His legacy, one of unrelenting fear that echoes through the system. New York's toughest prison couldn't break him, and his name still evokes caution among those who guard him. Did the system fail Willie, leaving him to spiral into violence, or did he choose this path of destruction? Share your perspective below and join the debate. Case 3. Craig Price. In 1987, the quiet streets of Warwick, Rhode Island, concealed a dark secret within one of its homes. Craig Price, just 13 years old, lived there with his working-class family, his charming smile and polite demeanor masking a growing storm of aggression. Raised in a modest household, his intelligence stood out. Teachers praised his quick wit. Neighbors noted his courteous nature. But beneath this facade, a rage simmered, unnoticed until it was too late. No one saw the warning signs, the petty thefts, the fights at school, the glint of something dangerous in his eyes. That year, Warwick would learn the truth about the boy next door, a killer emerging before his teens were over. In the summer of 1987, specifically on July 27th, Craig Price, then 13 years old, slipped into the home of his 27-year-old neighbor, Rebecca Spencer, at 128 West Shore Road in Warwick, Rhode Island, under cover of night, around 11 p.m. Armed with a 6-inch kitchen knife, stolen from his own home, he stabbed her 58 times in a frenzied attack, targeting her chest, abdomen, and neck. Her screams were swallowed by the darkness, muffled by the closed windows and late hour. The brutality shocked Warwick, a town of 85,000 with a low crime rate, unaccustomed to such violence, as police arrived to find her body in the living room, surrounded by 22 stab wounds, alone in her torso. 2 years later, on September 16th, 1989, at age 15, his rage exploded again. He broke into the Heaton family residence at 197 West Shore Road, targeting 39-year-old Joan Heaton and her daughters, Jennifer, 10, and Melissa, 8. Using the same knife and a second blade, he stabbed Joan 57 times and each daughter over 30 times. Their bodies left in a grotesque tableau of terror across the kitchen, living room, and upstairs hallway. The floors were soaked, the air thick with the metallic scent of death, documented by forensic teams as containing over 200 blood splatter points, a scene that spoke of rage unchecked and methodical cruelty. Witnesses later reported seeing Craig, wearing dark clothing and acting suspiciously near both crime scenes, on July 28, 1987, and September 17, 1989, and police moved swiftly, arresting him on September 20, 1989, after he confessed with chilling calm during a 3-hour interrogation, admitting to both sets of murders without showing emotion. Tried as a juvenile due to his age under Rhode Island law, which at the time capped sentences for minors at age 21, Craig faced sentencing limits following his arrests in 1987 and 1989. On December 15, 1989, he was sentenced to the Rhode Island Training School for Youth for a maximum of 8 years, but his violence didn't end there. In juvenile detention, starting in January 1990, he turned his aggression on guards and fellow inmates, his attacks marked by sudden, unpredictable brutality. He delivered physical beatings, striking guards with fists and kicking, injuring 2 officers with concussions in separate incidents in 1991 and 1992. He hurled threats, including death threats, documented in 14 separate reports, and disrupted order by breaking furniture, smashing windows, and starting fights that injured 7 other juveniles. His charm, once a mask in public, vanished behind bars, replaced by a predator's intensity that made staff wary, with 22 incident reports noting his cold stares and verbal abuse from 1990 to 1998. Transferred to adult prison at the Adult Correctional Institutions in Cranston, Rhode Island in 1998 as he turned 24, his behavior worsened. He assaulted guards with fists, improvised weapons like sharpened pens, and once threw a metal tray, injuring a guard's eye in 2001. His rage became a constant challenge, with 38 disciplinary actions logged between 1998 and 2010, including 5 assaults on staff and 12 instances of property destruction. Judges, reviewing his case during parole hearings in 2005, 2010, and 2015, added years to his sentence, extending it to an indeterminate term up to life, deeming him a perpetual danger to society based on psychiatric evaluations and incident reports. What kind of mind hides behind such unrelenting savagery, and can it ever be fully understood? Psychologists who studied Craig diagnosed him with antisocial personality disorder, a condition defined by a lack of remorse, empathy, and a propensity for manipulation. His early aggression hinted at untreated trauma or a thrill-seeking nature. A boy who found power in destruction. He reveled in the control his crimes afforded, showing no guilt even decades later, his confessions delivered with a disturbing calmness. His intelligence made him dangerous, allowing him to mask his true nature with charm until it was too late. Experts noted his crimes suggested a need to dominate, a predator who thrived on the fear and chaos he created. Beneath his youthful exterior lay a calculating mind, one that viewed violence as both a tool and a reward. As of April 2025, Craig Price is confined to Rhode Island's High Security Center, a fortress designed for the state's most dangerous offenders. With no prospect of release on the horizon, guards approach him with extreme caution, their every move calculated to avoid triggering the violence that earned him infamy. His name is whispered in fear among staff, his history a constant reminder of the terror he once unleashed. Warwick, once peaceful, remains scarred by his acts, a community forever altered by the realization that youth can harbor such darkness. The question lingers, should teens like Craig ever be considered for release, or are they too dangerous, their potential for violence etched too deeply? Share your thoughts below. What do you believe? If these stories of teen killers gripped you, hit subscribe. We uncover new true crime cases daily. Turn on notifications and join us as we explore the shadows of justice. Stay safe out there, and thank you for joining me on this dark journey through the minds of the youngest among us who crossed into the abyss. Until next time.